climate of attitudes around higher education are shifting and have shifted significantly.
We're all in this together, whether you want to be an engineer, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a teacher, you want to be a lawyer, that we all need to work together collaboratively. And how can we do that smarter, not harder?
You can't solve any problem solely with one discipline.
We exist to help the world become a better place, to create men and women who understand how to work in a team, how to tackle the biggest issues that face society today.
There's no question that we need to train students in the fields of the science, technology, engineering, and math.
When I came here, I could study economics, but then also do a sociology major and have that sort of math analytical side, but then also consider what it means for society and the implications between the two.
These kids will change the world, and we get this opportunity to be with them, to work with them, to let them thrive.
Our emphasis on academic innovation is really almost a next generation evolution of what Gonzaga's done really well over a long period of time, wanting to position itself ever more effectively to prepare students to be able to adapt and innovate and create regardless of where they find themselves, because they will find themselves someplace different than they did when they started out.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ZAG TALK, a program launched as part of Gonzaga Will, the campaign for our future. As you know, today is our 4th annual Gonzaga Day, and we are celebrating academic innovation. My name is Devin Dolan. I'm a 2009 graduate of the Broadcast Studies program at Gonzaga. GU prepared me to secure a job in the news industry even before graduation. I've been working as an anchor and reporter for the last several years. I am so honored to be here with all of you tonight as we premiere our first ever ZAG Talk. This is the first of what will hopefully become a series of conversations with Zags all around the world. If you've ever seen a TED Talk, then you know what to expect. This is a discussion meant to spur dialogue and action. Our program tonight has one goal: to share knowledge with purpose. We hope that what you hear sparks ideas, engagement, and creates opportunities. The talks themselves will not be lengthy, and each topic is a bit different, but yet they all center on the power of risk. When you take a chance and challenge the norm, great things can happen. Tonight, you'll hear from some of Gonzaga's most inspirational and thought-provoking individuals. The first, an associate professor with more than 20 years' experience at GU, working to ensure that our classrooms have the most skilled and caring teachers. The second, an alumnus who gave up a secure position in the world of athletic apparel with some of the most well-recognized global brands to pursue his dream of owning a bar. And finally, Gonzaga's Vice President for University Advancement, whose leadership with our institution has put us on the path for success in and out of the classroom. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our very first ZAG Talk speaker, Dr. Deborah Needing. Dr. Needing is an associate professor from Gonzaga School of Education and the chair of Gonzaga's Department of Teacher Education. Dr. Needing specializes in literacy instruction and assessment with an emphasis on teaching the at-risk learner. She has 40 years teaching experience, ranging from elementary school to college graduate in both rural and inner city schools in the United States, as well as village schools in Africa. She has been at Gonzaga University for 24 years and has served as the chair of the Department of Teacher Education, as the acting dean for the School of Education, and as the associate academic vice president. Dr. Needing completed her PhD from the University of Missouri and served as a member of the national faculty and as a consultant for the National Urban Alliance at Columbia University. She has published and presented her research at the local, national, and international levels. Dr. Needing was an independent educational consultant in Canada, multiple states, and on the Navajo Reservation in Arizona and in New Mexico. Please welcome Dr. Deborah Needing.
Thank you. It is truly an honor to be here tonight to tell my stories. I've been asked to talk about the power of taking a risk at Gonzaga University, and I'm going to do that from the perspective of asking two questions. What if, and what next? What if I could find a university that cared more about service than statistics? In 1992, I had finished my PhD program at the University of Missouri, and I had it in my head and my heart to find a university in the Pacific Northwest. I wanted more than a geographical location. I wanted a university that had a perspective about teaching that was more holistic. I found Gonzaga. I loved their concept of educating the whole person, body, mind, and spirit, and their aspiration to graduate well-rounded women and men who will make a difference in their community and the world. I read the mission statement, and I said to myself, if they walk the talk, I'm all in. Gonzaga's students come to Gonzaga because they want to make a difference, and they believe that they can make a difference. I love hearing them talk about their service learning projects, Mission Possible for spring break, instead of weekend parties or trips to the beach. They talk about the service-oriented clubs that they're involved in that work with the underserved. And it delights me when I hear them talk about finding a deeper meaning of self and God through searches and retreats. Now, the students that I work with are all in the teacher preparation program. They aspire to be teachers. And they come with their hearts and their heads filled with passion and commitment to be that one person in a child's life that makes a difference, that helps that child reach their full potential, have a strong self-esteem, take their skills and talents, and serve others. They embrace the concept of dignity of the human person, social justice, diversity, and serving the underserved, the marginal, and the poor. As a professor at Gonzaga, it's my responsibility to find opportunities for them to engage in these concepts. All I have to do is ask, what if? What if Gonzaga students could serve low socioeconomic students in the schools who are struggling due to lack of resources, personal issues, academic success, language barriers? Well, in 2003, the School of Education created the Saturday Literacy Tutoring Program, where local area children come to Gonzaga and work with a Gonzaga student one-on-one to receive tutoring in literacy. The teacher education department hires 2 teachers from the district to work with these children to create the instructional packets, which are individualized educational packets for each child. The tutors follow the instructions, journal the child's success, and then the directors respond to that and create the instructional materials for the next. The students that come to us are recommended by their principal or their teacher because they come from low-income families and they're 1 or 2 years below in school, and or English is not their primary language. They come on Saturdays from 10 to 12, and they receive the tutoring service. At the end of the semester, we have a celebration to honor their published works. We invite the families, we have a party, and we celebrate the authors. Afterwards, the children are able to select 2 books that they can take home to be their very own. One Saturday, not too long ago, we had a refugee family that came with 5 children. And when I knelt down to talk to the youngest child, he whispered in my ear, "Is there food?" Something as simple to you and me as a snack is so significant to a child to be prepared to learn. We know from research that if first-hour needs, basic needs are not met, that learning is critically impaired. Thanks to the Gonzaga Honor Society, Kappa Delta Pi, Educational Honor Society, we are able to provide snacks for the children every Saturday through their fundraising. I asked these children what they like best about Saturday literacy tutoring, And they all say the same thing. They love their amazing tutors who make them smart in school. We make sure that they tour the campus, they feel good about themselves, we have trusting relationships that have been built, and a vision for the future. They are ZAGs, we call them ZAGs, and they're proud to be ZAGs. And they know that one day they can go to college. These children improve in their literacy skills, but that carries over into other subjects. I had a very grateful father come up to me one Saturday and say, "My son is at grade level in all subjects for the first time in his life. Thank you." I want to show you what this looks like.
We want to make sure that students are doing more than just reading. We want them to have activities, we want them to be connecting their learning to their self and to others, and we want them to really personalize the reading and apply it.
And we engage them in literacy acts where they feel success. Success in reading, success in writing, success in communicating.
It's a way to be hands-on without taking on 25 kids and all the management problems, at a time. So it's really a nice one-on-one or small group intervention that they get to work on and really see results each week.
This blast is strong enough to pull them all the way out. We try to get children interested in reading. And so by using a book about volcanoes, something that he was already interested in, it compelled him to want to read about it.
They were straws. At first, the damage was buzzing.
A jellyfish.
We believe that the dispositions of a person, a teacher candidate, are as important as their ability to teach content. That they have to have a true sense of honest respect for all. And that's what I want to see. I want to see that spirit.
Very good. Can you point them out to me?
What we know is that every child that engages in the Saturday Literacy Tutoring Program improves.
Just to hear that they're actually succeeding in class, it's really nice because I just want every child to have the opportunity to succeed. And these are all very smart children. They just get caught up on little details or have different struggles that maybe can't be identified in a whole classroom of 25.
The child's attitude towards school has changed. They like going to school. They like reading. They're self-selecting to read. They're bringing books home from school.
And I think it's also really beneficial for the Gonzaga tutors because we're learning about all these different techniques and strategies for teaching children, and this really gives us an opportunity to apply them to real children and see how they work.
And many of our students are coming out of after their first theory in reading class, and their next course is the methods course. And I've seen huge changes in the students that we are getting in our methods courses because they're coming in with an understanding.
And they've also taught me a lot about myself, a lot of assumptions that I've made in teaching and with the different children. And they've also taught me about how much work I need to put into doing my teaching both one-on-one and to an entire class.
200 miles an hour, that's pretty fast.
This program is free to the children, and it's grown from a handful of students over the years to 80 to 90 children each semester. Now, the School of Education, Gonzaga University, embraces intercultural competency. And through this program and partnerships that the Teacher Education Department has created with high needs middle school and elementary schools, as well as agencies in the general area of Spokane to provide academic support, I feel that we are giving our Gonzaga students an opportunity to experience intercultural competency. Gonzaga also embraces global education and global competency, and I wanted to have an opportunity for our teacher education candidates to experience that. So what if they could serve the underserved in another part of the world? In 2008, Charles Lwanga College in Manzi, Zambia, contacted the academic vice president with an opportunity. They had two significant goals that they wanted to achieve, and they asked for our help. They wanted to improve the way that they prepared teachers to teach so that the literacy rate for the children would improve and increase. So they knew that was the answer to improving education in their country, because children are the future. The second goal was to become a 4-year degree granting institution. Now, the first goal resonated with me as a teacher educator. So I asked myself, what if I could create a faculty-led study abroad program and take the teacher education candidates to Charles Lwanga College in Manzi, Zambia? I have to tell you that Charles Lwanga College is not exactly in Manzi. That's the closest town that has a post office, and therefore that's their address. But they are quite a bit off the beaten path in the middle of farmland. I corresponded with the Jesuits at the campus, and they were delighted that we were going to come, and they offered to host us. Between the pictures that we received of the campus and the generic Google searches that we did, we had no idea what we were going to encounter. But our hearts and our heads were full of hope and promise, and we started researching the culture, the language. We did fundraisers, book drives to get together materials. We got books and paper and pens and markers and crayons and whiteboards. We packed them in our suitcases. We shipped what we could, and we were ready to go. No matter how much we researched, packed our materials, readied for the trip, we were not prepared for what we would experience, the life-transforming experience. We arrived on campus, were escorted to our guest house and the dorms, where we had electricity and water sometimes. That was okay. We were happy to be there. We worked with the instructors at the college to share the resources that we brought. We created the Gonzaga Literacy Library within the library on Charles Lwanga College with materials that we brought for the instructors to use preparing their college students, for the college students to use in their teaching of the young children. We worked with the college students to help them understand the strategies that we were bringing to them and how to use the resources. And we went into the village schools and we modeled these instructional strategies and the ways to use these resources to the teachers there. And to take it even deeper, we worked together co-teaching with these teachers so they would have a hand-on experience and not only know what to do, but why to do it. We had art materials, resources for the children that they'd never had before. Putting paper and crayons in front of these children was an amazing experience. They loved it. We created an after-school literacy tutoring program fashioned exactly after our Saturday literacy tutoring program at Gonzaga. We worked with the tutors to help them understand those instructional strategies, how to use those resources and materials. We were ready. All we needed were kids. 250 children from the villages came to campus that day with their teachers. They were excited. Their enthusiasm was overwhelming. But we were ready. The college students were prepared to tutor these young children inside the assembly hall, outside under the trees. They were all over the campus. While the tutoring was taking place, my students and I went around, offered support, gave more materials, encouraged them, laughed, smiled, delighted in their successes. And after we were through that first day, the children came back to campus and they asked, "Can I have that book again? Can I have some paper and pencil to practice what my tutor taught me?" It's amazing the experience that we had. In fact, one of my students said to me, "You know, Deborah, I thought we were going to go to Charles Lwanga College. We were going to transform teaching and learning, and it was going to be great." But he said, I was the one that was transformed. He said to me, "I couldn't believe how happy and excited and eager those children were. They were delighted that they got to go to school." He said they didn't look at what they didn't have. They didn't look at the fact that they only get to go to school 3 hours a day because there are too many children, not enough teachers, and not enough building space. They didn't look at the fact that there were 50 or 60 kids in the classroom and they didn't have a place to sit most of the time, or that there were no books or bookcases or chalkboards or chalk or paper or pens or pencils or playground equipment. They were thrilled that they got to go to school, that they could learn, they could be smart, and they could have a good life. It was very touching and transforming to all of us. We have lifelong relationships that we have created with them. The program continued for about 5 years, self-sustaining. We continued to go back. The tutoring program was strong. The teaching methods and the resources, we continued to supply the resources. Everything was going well, but there were still challenges. There was that second goal. Now, Charles Luanga College is a 2-year degree-bearing institute, 2-year certification institution only. They wanted to be a 4-year degree-bearing institution. The only one around that could do that was the University of Zambia in Lusaka, which was the big major city many, many, many miles away. If Charles Luanga College could be a 4-year degree-bearing institution, teacher certification institution, they would be one of a kind in the area. To do this, the instructors had to all have a master's degree, which was true for only 3 of them. What if we could help Charles Luanga become a 4-year degree-bearing institution? What if we could provide a master's degree for all 25 instructors at Charles Luanga College? My colleagues and I in the School of Education, along with the support of the president, the academic vice president, and the dean, worked to put together a master's degree program, taking courses from 2 existing master's programs in the School of Ed. We all committed to going to Zambia to teach 1 or more courses throughout the scope of the program, created the scope and sequence, put it all together, got the approval from the administration, and we started the program actually in 2012 when my colleague and I took a group of students over to do a faculty-led study abroad program. We held classes at night for the instructors. After that, my colleagues and I took turns once a month to travel to Zambia to work with the teachers to teach the courses, followed up with online instruction through tutorials and modules, which is very problematic due to inconsistent electricity and very small bandwidth. But we did it. We persevered. And then in the summer of 2013, all 25 Zambians came to Spokane to take courses on Gonzaga's campus. Now, many of these people have never been outside of Manzi, let alone Africa. It was a dream come true. And when they were here, they said to me, Kennedy Apartments is 5-star accommodation. Dining in the Bark is fine dining. And the fact that they could get on the bus right outside of Kennedy Apartments, straight shot to Walmart and back, they were in heaven. But we worked hard. We worked hard the entire time that they were here. I'll show you.
Right now, when you look at the number of people that have come here to train, people who in a short while will be granted to have this master's, it is a huge human resource achievement. 25 at a go. It is really great, and the government itself, they know about this. It has been communicated, everyone is aware, and everyone is just saying, it's a miracle. There's a miracle at Charles Luanga. There's a miracle at Gonzaga. It is very exciting.
Yes, they did have a good time. And when we were through with the coursework, we made sure that they experienced our culture. President McCullough hosted a Coeur d'Alene boat cruise. And then John Rudolph, a great supporter of Gonzaga University, invited us all to Hayden Lake, to his lake house, where we had adventures that they could never, ever have imagined. Beatrice was not about to get in that water because she was afraid of hippos. Once we convinced her that there were no hippos and strapped her up in that life vest, she took the plunge, and then she didn't want to get out. We had an amazing day with all kinds of water sports and camaraderie, and then, to top it off, John Rudolph took us to his country club for dinner and dancing, where they tried desperately to teach me how to dance. We continued to travel to Charles Lwanga throughout the next year, and in December of 2014, amazing thing happened. 25 Zambian master's candidates completed their program and achieved a master's degree from Gonzaga University. The dean of the School of Education was able to hand each one of them their diploma, which was one of the proudest moments in their lives for themselves and for their families. Now, it's a wonderful thing to reach out across the planet to another Catholic institution and help. But what if the School of Education could be the center for Catholic education in the Pacific Northwest? This dream is coming true. Dean Alfonso had this vision, and he has created the Center for Catholic Education in the School of Education, formed an advisory board, created a mission, which is totally dedicated to provide anything necessary for excellence in education in all the Catholic schools. We've started in Spokane, but the idea is the Pacific Northwest. To date, 2 school principals have contacted Gonzaga and asked for assistance with academic and non-academic factors for their schools and their children and their teachers. My colleagues and I have put together professional development, and we're going into those schools to work with those teachers and those children to serve them. People ask me what makes Gonzaga University different than other universities, and I say that's easy. We take a risk and we go beyond. After 24 years at Gonzaga University, I want to tell you 2 things. We walk the talk, and what's next? Thank you for listening to my stories.
Deborah, thank you so much. I think my eyes got a little teary. I don't know about you guys. Next up, we have 99 alumnus John Nakel. With childhood roots in both Northern California and Western Montana, John moved to Portland after graduating from Gonzaga. John began working at Adidas America in 2000 in various roles within the global apparel division until 2004, when he began his professional career with Nike. John spent 11 years with Nike, all in the category of basketball, where he had most recently held the position of global category apparel leader. In 2011, John and his business partners opened a neighborhood whiskey bar in North Portland called the Old Gold. In August of 2015, John retired from Nike and helped to open a second bar called Pay Dirt in Northeast Portland. Aside from dabbling in the business of neighborhood bars, John and his wife Missy are also the proud and very busy parents to 2-year-old James and 8-month-old Audrey. Please welcome John Nakel.
Thank you guys very much. All right, let's get a little weird, right? You went from a true academic, someone who's changing the world, literally, to a guy who owns a bar. I'm sorry. All right? It's the first ZAG Talk. We can go up from here. But I have really exciting news to share with you guys, something that I love. Just take a look at this. Oxford University, or as you might know it, the poor man's Gonzaga of Europe, just released this study, and basically, in short, regulars at local pubs lead better and healthier lives and actually drink in moderation more so than their peers. Hooray for that. It's wonderful for business, it's wonderful for all of you. If you learn nothing today, I just encourage you leave here and become a local at your neighborhood bar. It is actually good for your health. So even in my little bars in North Portland, Northeast Portland, we are maybe changing communities, maybe changing the world, one beer, one whiskey at a time. I went to Gonzaga in the fall of '95, although this was not the Gonzaga that I knew. This was the Gonzaga that I knew. Might be a little bit familiar. And this was not me, that was me, about 40 pounds ago, and before all my hair migrated from my head to my chin. Lived here, as many of you guys can relate. CM, Southwest Hall, room 11. CM has never looked that good ever. There's green grass in front and no one's smoking or playing hacky sack. As an upperclassman, I moved to 1228 North Hamilton Avenue, or as many of you know it. Not figuratively, I didn't just live at Jack and Dan's, I actually lived at Jack and Dan's. That's my apartment up there in the upper right corner. Like any true Zag. I can neither confirm nor deny that the gentleman right there is Father Frank Case. It's a rumor, it didn't start here. Strange resemblance. But you might see a trend here, obviously, in bars and what it meant to my life. Also, I graduated Gonzaga in 1999. For those of you guys, you know it's a seminal moment in Gonzaga basketball history. It really was the birth of Gonzaga basketball as we know it today. Some of my classmates up there on the screen, some of my favorite individuals, helped to lead the team to the Elite Eight. And believe it or not, that was 17 whole years ago. Here's a stunning statistic. Incoming freshmen next year will have literally never been on the earth when Gonzaga was not in the NCAA tournament. How old do you feel? It's horrific. Right, so I graduated Gonzaga, and as Devin said, I then made my way out to Portland, Oregon, and I really didn't have much of a career plan. I was horribly disorganized. I was paranoid. I didn't get into grad school. I was a solid B student. And I just thought that I wanted to work in the sporting industry, and I wanted to work for one of these companies that I knew was headquartered in Portland, and I didn't know how. It's a story for another time, but through amazing strokes of luck, I landed on at Adidas in their apparel division. Basically doing menial labor, and I stuck. And I wouldn't let go until I got to work and be in charge of basketball. And eventually I got to live that dream and be in charge of basketball at Adidas. Pretty cool, right? Until the big guy calls. In the world of basketball, there's really one brand. And Nike offered me the job or recruited me to be in charge of their basketball apparel business. And how could you possibly say no, right? So for the last 11 years, I lived an incredible dream, right? I got to work with the greatest product on the greatest athletes in the sport of basketball, which I love. Obviously, as a Zag, getting to work on Team USA's uniforms is one of the coolest things. I got to outfit 3 Olympics. Got to work on amazing projects that got tons of marketing and television around the world. Got to work with the best athletes. This guy might look a little bit familiar, playing his last year. He's about to retire too. I beat him to it. Feel pretty good about that. One of my favorite guys I ever got to work with, Kevin Durant, got to do some silly things with some of these guys and rub shoulders with some of the world's greatest. And the sport of basketball literally sent me around the world to places that I could never imagine going. It was insane. There was no place that I loved to come back to professionally more than coming back to Gonzaga. Yes, I am the guy that whether you love them or hate them, got to work on all of Gonzaga's uniforms and all the gear that Coach Few and the boys take the court in. Pretty cool thing as an alumni to bring my team of designers and product people to Spokane, give them a little tour, show them around, take them to Hoop Fest, and get to work with the team, with the coaches, and come up with the stuff that they get to wear and help tell our story of Gonzaga out to the world. Pretty amazing. No matter where I went, I loved coming back home. But after a period of time, when you work for a large corporation, no matter the company that you keep, on occasion you're just 2 really bored guys in a conference room. There's me and Kobe looking just bored to tears. And I have nothing ill to say about my time at Nike. It was incredible. It afforded me so many things I can't even begin to tell you. My wife still works there. They still provide me my insurance. My kids go to daycare there. I still get to go to the employee store. I get all the benefits. My wife shared a lot of risk with me when I left. But I realized in my time there that there was something else that was kind of itching at me, and I needed to go out and explore it a little bit further. And it was this other side of life, this other passion that I had that wasn't basketball. And it was Ted Danson. Not really Ted Danson, but as a child of the 80s, I blame it on television. I grew up watching Cheers, and I loved this idea of a neighborhood bar, truly of a place where everybody knows your name. And as bars being a wonderful center of a community, much like Jack and Dan's is a center of the Gonzaga community in a wonderful way. And I always had this dream that I wanted to open a neighborhood bar. And sure enough, after many years and many discussions with a couple of my friends, I found some idiots who were brave enough to do it with me. And me and 2 other partners opened our first bar in North Portland called the Old Gold, a little neighborhood whiskey pub. If you ever go to University of Portland game when Gonzaga visits, it's a great pregame and postgame stop. I encourage you to swing by. I loved opening the bar and being part of a small business and being a small business owner. Made me better at my day job. right? It made me a better leader of my team working for that corporation, and I felt like the yin and yang of those two worlds were phenomenal. And I was reinvigorated, and I loved my career, and I went on to bigger and better things within Nike for a few years. We opened the Old Gold back in 2011. The one other story about opening the Old Gold was that we opened it 3 weeks after I got married. For those taking notes, don't ever do that. When you spend your honeymoon at your bar, it's not a good start. My wife, again, the most wonderful woman on the planet and most understanding and patient. So I had these two companies in my life, right? Nike and the Old Gold. And that really reinvigorated me for a few years, but then sure enough, I kind of found myself back in this place again. I was just another bored guy in a conference room working for a corporation. And from the very little bit that you can tell about me, you can imagine I'm not great at taking orders from other people. I just ultimately realized that my passion was very much more on the other side of life, in being a small business owner and being an entrepreneur. And all the wonderful things that Nike afforded me put me in that position to be able to take a bigger risk, retire, which is a strange word to use at age 37, and open our second bar. This is a picture of Pay Dirt, which is our newest baby. It is the very shiny new younger sister to the Old Gold. And so there my two corporations became these two little whiskey bars, the Old Gold and Pay Dirt, right? And a lot of times when I went through this process, when people don't actually know kind of some of the timeline of my story, the second they hear, I'm kind of known as the guy that quit a dream job or walked away from a wonderful career at an amazing corporation making basketball clothes. I literally, in my career, I think I figured out I was responsible for creating or selling roughly $6 billion in polyester. It's a really weird legacy, right? But when people hear that story and they hear that I walked away from it, a lot of people say, man, what incredible risk that you took. What a gamble that you did to go and do that just to pursue a dream. And when I think of risk takers and gamblers, I think of these two handsome men right here, right? The original. Is there anybody in the world more masculine, Evel Knievel right there? That chest hair is so amazing. Or the gambler, Kenny Rogers, right? I don't relate to these guys because these guys seem like superheroes to me, and I'm certainly not. I'm just some guy that wanted to open a bar. And in fact, I'm massively risk averse. I consider myself that. I'm not a risk taker at all. Ever since I was a kid, I hate trying new things unless I know I'm going to be good at them. My mom had to talk me into going skiing. My mom had to talk me into going and playing basketball, bribing me with toys. I never liked to do new things. I didn't like to go outside of my comfort zone, right? And I thought about this video I'm about to show you, and I can relate. I can't relate to these guys, but I can relate to this little 10-year-old girl. So inside, I am probably a little 10-year-old kid, maybe a 10-year-old girl. This is a minute and 40 of your life, and it's well worth it. You're going to end up going and rewatching this video more and more. But I just encourage you, listen to it. Listen to as many things as you hear, because there's a ton in here. And take a little ride with this girl as she takes her very first ski jump of 40 meters.
I'll be fine.
Have fun.
I'll do it. Well, here goes something, I guess. Oh. Okay, you can do this. I'm gonna jump.
You got it.
Whoa, my ski's slipping off.
Just remember, never snowplow, okay?
No snow plows.
Just keep it straight and you'll be fine. Do
Okay.
the same thing you do on the 20.
Straight. Do you go faster on the in run?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Is it any steeper, do you think? Not much?
Same steepness, it's just longer.
Well, just longer. Just longer. Just a bigger 20, that's all.
Yep. Have fun.
A bigger 20. Go ahead. You got this. I got it.
It's fine. You'll be fine.
Okay. Here.
The longer you wait, you'll be more scared.
I go. Just the suspense at the top at the first time freaks you out. That's the only thing. It's so fun. Huh? 60 seems like nothing now. Whoa!
I watch that all the time, and I get goosebumps every time. I love that little girl, right? She is my spirit animal. She's amazing, and there's just so much in there. These are some of my favorites, but she starts it off with, "Here goes something." How cool is that? At 10 years old, she's that aware. Here goes something. The advice from the teacher or the instructor next to her, remember, never snowplow. And she's kind of going through all that process in her head, just thinking about this risk, this jump she's about to take. And then her friend, he's one of the hardest ones to hear, but her friend weighs in and says, remember, the longer you wait, you'll be more scared. Isn't that, like, it's everything about risk all in that video. I can just leave. That's all you need, right? The guy who shared that video with me, it was Dr. Michael Gervais. He's a world-renowned sports psychologist. For those of you guys that are Seattle Seahawks fans, you might know him more as the sideline shrink. He's known as the team psychologist for the Seahawks and works closely with Pete Carroll. The guy's phenomenal, and he spends a lot of time in Seattle. If anybody ever has a chance to go see him speak, I can't recommend it enough. Life-changing. He's insane. That he introduced that video to me, and outside of working with the Seahawks, Dr. Gervais also works with Red Bull athletes, true daredevils, right? Guys that do crazy risks. For those of you who aren't familiar, this guy is Felix Baumgartner. He's an Austrian daredevil, if you will, that in 2012 rode a helium-filled little capsule 24 miles up into the atmosphere and did a free fall jump out of it, eventually parachuting down to Earth. Broke the record for the longest ever jump. It's since been broken, actually. But he's still the only human being on the planet to break the speed of sound unassisted by a vehicle, right? That's pretty crazy. Talk about risk. This guy wouldn't open a bar, I'm sure, but he'll jump out of that, right? But the thing that I learned from Dr. Gervais, he worked very closely with him, with Felix, and works with a lot of their kind of crazy, extreme, daredevil athletes and motorcycle jumpers like Robbie Madison. And the thing that he found amongst all kind of high-performing folks and people that take these seeming risks is that they're bound by this same kind of notion that not taking risk is a bigger risk. That once these guys get something in their head, this goal that they want to do, they want to try and achieve, to them, it would be heart-wrenching and it would kill them inside to walk away from that goal or from that challenge. So it's not a matter of if they're going to do it. The actual jump part of it is typically a piece of cake for those guys because they've done a ton of homework, right? And they know exactly how much risk is going into there and they're minimizing it. So these guys that seemingly take these gigantic risks, you ask them, they're not taking risks at all. It's just math, it's physics. They're just figuring it all out, which is pretty cool. That quote of the only risk is not taking any risks, every CEO of every billion-dollar company has said something like that, right? And I always find it almost, I don't know, a little unrelatable or a little insulting. At Nike, we always associated that quote with Phil Knight, the original entrepreneur and founder, and Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook has thrown that quote around quite a bit lately. If you Google it, there's 1,000 cliches and inspirational posters that have that quote on it. That's all fine, but I think it's funny when billionaires talk about risk, that even if they lose $300 million, they're still billionaires, right? For the rest of us, what is it really like? Again, I'm a 10-year-old little kid. I need it simplified, back to rules that I understand. And the first one for me when I think about risk, and again, this is as much to remind myself as to encourage anybody else, because I am risk averse. I don't like doing new things. But the first thing is sharing. And to me, sharing is twofold. And the hardest part of taking a risk for most people is just putting it out into the world, is just saying what you want to do, right? Think about when you've had something in your head, maybe a dream you want to follow, maybe you want to do naked karaoke, maybe you want to run a marathon. Maybe you want to lose 10 pounds. The hardest part is just verbalizing it sometimes and putting it out there. Because the second that you do, people are going to hear you, and they're going to start to hold you accountable. How's that marathon coming? What song are you going to karaoke, right? Even worse, you are going to start to hold yourself accountable, right? No one wants to be that person that walks around and says, someday I'm going to do this. Man, I'm going to quit my job. I swear I'm going to. The guy that walks around the office and says he's going to quit his job every single day is the most annoying guy in the office, right? But once you share, not only do people start to hold you accountable, it's shocking how many people can help you, and how many people want to help you, right? They want to encourage you. They want to join you. That sounds fun. I'm in. Let's do this together. That then helps you also share risk, right? Whether it's just somebody who wants to encourage you or help you along the way or coach you. In my personal story, The conversation on owning a bar started over beers after a softball game, as all intellectual conversations begin. And somebody said, what would you want to do if you didn't do your current job? And I said, oh, I've always wanted to open a bar. The next day, I get a text from one of my friends who was at the bar that night, and he didn't say anything. He was too embarrassed to speak up. And he said, hey, that idea of opening a bar, were you serious? Absolutely. I've always wanted to do it too. I never wanted to say it out loud. I thought people would laugh at me. He was a writer. That guy is my partner in the Old Gold. He quit his job. He took a huge risk, and he manages both of our bars, and he is absolutely phenomenal at it. But for him, the hardest thing to overcome was just saying it, was just putting it out into the world, sharing it. Just sharing it is that very huge first step. The second thing for any good 10-year-old, do your homework. Right? The excuse anymore to try something new of, I don't know enough about it, or I've never done it, I don't have any experience, is idiotic. We carry supercomputers around in our pockets, right, that give us access to more information than we can ever absorb in 100 human lifetimes. You just have to know which questions to ask and be willing to ask them and who to ask, right? For anything that you want to get involved in, there are so many experts that you actually can reach out and find a way to get in touch with so easily. Some people say, I wouldn't know who to ask, I wouldn't know where to start. I think that's really kind of the laziest and most uninspired thing ever. In anything that you find, there are experts. And what do experts love to do? Experts love to talk about their craft, right? They love to share. They're waiting, they're begging for you to ask them so they can go on and talk about it. For me, opening a bar wasn't just kind of done on a whim. It took us over 4 years. The neighborhood where we opened the Old Gold, I lived there for 7 years, and I felt like I had a pretty good handle on the consumers in the neighborhood. Right? And this is the not so sexy part about taking a risk or doing something romantic, is making it more calculated, right? I had to go and look up Census Bureau data and find out who actually lived in the neighborhood. Lo and behold, it was exactly what I hoped it would be. The 2010 census came back, and within walking distance of my little proposed bar, the average human being was an early 30s, single male, first-time homeowner with above average extra disposable income. That sounds like a bar patron, right? So there is tons of information, but at some point, you do have to do something with it. For pay dirt, for our second bar, we're the only bar in the state of Oregon that operates without serving food. We don't have a kitchen, we don't have chefs, but we sit under a building where we share a liquor license with 4 other micro restaurants, little food carts that went into brick and mortar. We're essentially like a very adult food court where we're the Orange Julius, but the Orange Julius is whiskey, okay? That homework was easy to do. When you don't have to incur the costs that are associated with opening and running a kitchen, that was a pretty easy one to make the leap. Another little component of our homework at the Old Gold was not just having regulars that were there, but having worked for a corporation for many years, I know how much people love to throw down their American Express cards and open up company tabs. So it's always great to be close to a large business. Sharing some more news with you guys, and this is a little tough to read, I'll help you out, but this was just published in Willamette Week this last week. Everything you need to know about the Portland shoe industry. We are kind of the mecca of the athletic shoe industry, and I'll bring it up there when they brought up Adidas, my former employer. German shoe giant Adidas has 1,200 employees in its North Portland Uberplex near Old Gold Whiskey Bar. I love that for a lot of reasons, but I love especially that I used to work for Adidas, and the way that they geographically located is to describe it next to my bar. We actually are, they are great happy hour patrons. We love having them there, and yes, they keep us afloat. They probably help pay the rent. They probably pay the rent before the first week of the year just by putting down that corporate card. So yeah, a little bit of homework goes into it, and as they say, location, location, location. The last piece of the puzzle is, for me, it's the most fun part, right? When you've shared it, when you've got it out into the world, when you got it out into the ether, and you know you're going to do it, and the idea of walking away is more painful than the idea of actually doing it, and you've done your homework. And I like to say, as part of the homework and the calculating part of it, you're essentially just shortening the distance of that jump that you have to make, right? And that no matter how short that jump is, no matter how small it is, the tiniest little risk, the tiniest little bit that you get outside of your comfort zone We know that's good for us, right? Exercising muscles that haven't exercised, that's good for us. Brushing your teeth with your left hand, that's good for us. Talking to a stranger is great for us. Becoming a regular at a neighborhood bar, it's phenomenal for us. Science, can't argue with it, right? So the one thing I'll encourage everybody here to do, you got a lot of year left, right? We're very early on in 2016. Take a little mental note, and once a month, commit yourself to taking a jump. It can be a tiny one, an absolutely tiny one, right? But just share something out into the world. Do a little bit of homework, and just take that tiny little jump. But remember, never snowplow. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, John. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege to introduce to you Gonzaga University's Vice President for University Advancement, Joe Poss.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I know I'm the part right before a game watch, so I'm very aware of that. So I've got an update and a question. First, the update, women's basketball defeats Portland 86-51. Yes, yes. Actually got to see just a few minutes of the game and then jumped on a plane to be over here with you this evening. There are Gonzaga Day activities happening all over the world, as you know. The Tokyo chapter, they shut it down a long time ago. But this is a special day for us Zags, and it's fun to be able to be part of two gatherings, Seattle and Spokane. I extend a greeting also from Dr. McCullough, who wanted to be here with us this evening. He's actually back in Spokane, caught up in some of the activities there, but I know he's here with us in spirit. Which takes me to the second part. I've got a question for you all. Just by the sound of applause, this is new for us, this ZAG Talk. This is brand new. This was an experiment this evening, bit of a risk. So I'd like to see, should we do these again? All right. That's very helpful, thank you. And I would like to extend some gratitude. We've got some wonderful individuals that have helped make this all possible. First, to every single one of you here in the room, ZAG Nation is our constant. For 128 years, it is the alumni and parents and friends of this institution that have been the constant and that have kept Gonzaga going. So thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for being part of our experiment. To Deborah and to John, oh my gosh, it's a rare gift to hear someone's story and to hear from a perspective, and I think we're all very, very appreciative for you taking the time to share your story with us. Talk about the power of risk. It's very Jesuit. The Jesuits are entrepreneurs, right? And you both are certainly living the mission and make us both very proud. Speaking of mission, Devin, many of us have been following you and know your story on the personal and professional front, and so from a mission accomplished standpoint, we're putting a check mark next to your name. Thank you for being our MC this evening. And to my colleagues from Gonzaga that are here this evening, and to many members of our Board of Trustees and Regents, specifically Fritz Wolf, Mike Riley, I saw you here a little earlier, Mary Hirsch, Cindy Runger, I think you're here as well, and Steve Robinson. I know you're all here, my colleagues and the trustees and regents, for many reasons, but your dedication certainly comes from the heart, so thank you very much. This is indeed a special evening for us, obviously for the gathering that we're having here this evening and the game watch a little bit later, but it also recognizes the evening that we're launching the academic innovation component of the Campaign for Our Future. The ZAG Talk helped us embody some of that messaging and some of the emphasis behind academic innovation. This campaign has been made possible because of all of you and those that have come before us. To them, the ones that came before us, and to all of you, I thank you for believing in this institution. I thank you for believing in Gonzaga. I thank you for believing in the place that we all truly do love. Gonzaga Will. It's intriguing, yes? Take a second here with me. Who will speak up for those who don't have a voice? Who will bring innovation and innovative ideas to other nations? Who will unfold our students' potential? Who? We will. Gonzaga will. And we must. It's our obligation as individuals that associate with Gonzaga, that call ourselves ZAGs. We are part of the collective will. Just 4 months ago, we launched the campaign for Gonzaga, as you see here behind me, Gonzaga Will. So what have we seen? Unprecedented support $183 million committed toward our $250 million goal from nearly 27,500 individuals. That is a historic number for Gonzaga University. Let's take a minute just to celebrate that, shall we? How about some applause? We have a little bit more to celebrate here this evening, which is what I'm proud to be able to share. And I just would ask you to allow, and for a minute, to let me share with you and highlight a little bit about a family. This family completely embodies the power of risk. For nearly 4 decades, the couple I'm speaking about and their children have been helping GU take strategic risks. They've been helping us seize opportunities that maybe we didn't see, all for the goal of furthering our mission. The family I'm speaking about is the Fritz and Jeannie Wolf family, and Fritz Wolf is here with us here this evening. Fritz, thank you so much. Fritz is very humble, so we practically had to torture to get him here, and hopefully you might be willing to share a few words here in a minute. But I do want to take a little trip down memory lane, because I think it's important, in particular for the significance of this evening, to hear a bit about their story. Since 1986, Fritz and Jeannie have been incredible supporters of Gonzaga University. What started with a $1,000 gift to the Great Teachers Program has grown into a very diverse portfolio of investment, all focused on changing GU, but always focused on making sure we're true to our mission. Fritz and Jeannie are lifelong residents of Spokane. They saw something in GU. They saw our commitment to our excellence. They saw our commitment to our students. They saw our commitment to each other. They saw a worthy investment. In 2013, Fritz expanded his service to Gonzaga and became the chairman of our board of trustees. And he just wrapped up that term of service in 2015, but he remains on our board of trustees, and he remains a standard bearer for our mission. He has been at the helm over these past 15 years, pushing and challenging Gonzaga to be our best, and mentoring so many of us. I don't know if many of you know Father Coughlin, but there's something to be said when Father Coughlin reaches up and grabs your face and touches your cheek. It's kind of a little blessing that you get from a beloved Jesuit. You get the same sort of feeling in working with Fritz Wolf. When he looks you in the eye and he challenges you, he supports you, he gives you a great idea, you feel moved and you feel like you've been blessed by a Jesuit. It's my honor and privilege to share with you all this evening that the Wolf family has expanded their level of support to include a transformational gift for the Campaign for Our Future. In true Wolf family fashion, their gift will touch many facets of the institution, from academic innovation, to scholarship, to athletic success, to service programs. Dozens of programs, facilities across our campus are now going to be shaped by the wonderful generosity of this wonderful family. I would ask you all to be a part of this special, intimate evening here tonight, to join with me in thanking Fritz for this leadership. You'll notice I did not make a mention of a gift amount, because I think this is also in the spirit of Fritz and Jeannie. It's not about the amount, it's about what we're getting done, and it's about what we're doing. So there will be no mention about amount, but I can tell you it is transformational. Fritz, I was wondering if you'd be comfortable sharing a few words with us here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joe, and thank you, Deborah and John, for your presentations and proving that Gonzaga is what it purports to be. So each fall, thousands of families drop off their kids entrusting Gonzaga to transform them, to live up to its mission. And Gonzaga does that. I've been on the inside, I've watched it happen. Sorry. But it does. And it's our complete pleasure to be able to support this, to watch it happen, to invest in it. Feels good.
I love it. Thank you, Fritz. And what I didn't mention is, although we're sharing this news tonight, we're starting to spread the news tonight as well. And over the next couple of months, I would encourage you all to take a chance to read the incredible story of this wonderful family, but also the story of many, many, many other families that are shaping the institution that we love. In fact, I've got a little bit of an update for you. Together with the Wolf Gift and many other families, as I've mentioned, I'm pleased to share with you all this evening, and you're the first to hear this as we spread the news across ZAG Nation, that our total, as of just back in October, was $183 million raised, but as of this evening, it's $207 million raised. That puts us at 80% over our goal and well on our way to surpassing that goal. I ask for your help. We have to surpass the goal. We must surpass it. How can you not, after hearing the stories that we just heard this evening, to hearing the passion and the change that comes from ZAGs? Our collective will must work to ensure that we deliver on our commitment for our students. Students who come to us with courage and compassion to change the world. And when we say the world, we mean their family, their neighborhood, their business, the world. That is Gonzaga Will in action. That's what is in the heart of every ZAG. Because of families like Fritz and Jeannie and so many others, because of all of your support here this evening, our will is stronger and we will succeed. Thank you all so very much for being here this evening. I know we have much more fun to have, but I ask you all, as the evening comes to an end, as you go to sleep this evening, in a very Jesuit way, reflect on what you're grateful for, and please, please act. We must. It's our will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. It truly is such a great time to be a ZAG. As an alumna, I'm excited for everything Gonzaga has done and will continue to do for future generations of ZAGs. Hearing firsthand from leaders like Dr. Deborah Needing and John makes me proud to be part of such an inspirational and game-changing institution. Gonzaga will do amazing things for its students and for the world. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our speakers and that what was shared spurs ideas and further dialogue. Our speakers will be available to stay and answer any questions you may have. We also ask that you stay with us and watch the men's basketball game. We'll be just down the hall. Thank you so much. Happy Gonzaga Day. Have a wonderful evening.